Hello, this is Francis from McCaffrey's Crafts, and today I'm continuing on in my series, Faction Fighters, The History of Stick Fighting. It's been a while since I did one of these videos, so I thought we'd kind of look at it there again and get going on this again. And I thought we'd start looking more into where it began, or where historically is associated with how it started. And there's a general consensus out there that Tipperary and County Tipperary is where all the faction fighting began, and it actually spread out from there. So I thought, why not we'd have a look at the at this side of things to kind of start. And today is just an introduction, and I'll get more into it as we go on over the next few weeks. Bear in mind, like in Tipperary, it still had its fair share of fightings between the rents with the landlords, and there was some sectarian fighting going on, but this alternated with the faction fighting, which was a new thing that was starting to gain traction in Tipperary. And remember, like at the time, the Irish were considered third class citizens in their own country. They were poor, they didn't have much. There was a lot of people living in mud type huts. The British were really, down on them. You had, the army in there, and the police and the constables and the barneys. So, all the ingredients were there for, this proud nation of fighters, descendant of Irish Celts and the Normans, and who had been warring for years and years. It was all brewing to start. And one of the I have it written down here, one of the first-hand accounts of faction fighting, as recounted in the opening chapter, was a guy called William London, and he was a one-time national MP for East Limerick, and he died in 1910. But his son succeeded him to Parliament, and he had his father's notes on faction fighting. So what he done is the Kerry Man is a newspaper here in County Kerry that still goes to this day. And on Saturday, the 5th of February in 1910, the Kerry Man published this information that had been given to him by William London's son. And the writer claims that this is the only authentic account on the rise and fall of the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds, which were, quite renowned faction fight groups. So I'll just kind of read what they put in the article here, just as an introduction. There is a spot pointed out at a place called Gormanstown between Clockeen and Ardfinnan, at which on a fair day 3 men were killed in an encounter, the number of wounded being very large. The scene of this deadly conflict is quite insignificant, having only one public house and a national school at the present time. So what he's saying there is that, it's kind of weird. There's nothing going on there. There's only a school and a pub. Why is this big fight there happening? He's kind of just pointing to that. The town of Tipperary gave itself up, body and soul, to factionism. The inhabitants, or the greater portion of them, on the western side of town, Barmascanza, or Henry Street, later known as William O'Brien Street, were Shanavest partisans. The rival cause, Caravat. Remember those two names? The Shanavest and the Caravat, two of the most famous factions. So the rival cause, Caravat, finding ready exposal at the hands, in the most literal sense of the word, of the residents of the eastern side at a place called Spiddle. So here he's kind of recounting a battle, between the Caravats and the Shanavests that had happened in Tipperary. And, there's nice little accounts like this throughout, and it's more in the 18th century that you'd find some of these accounts. So what I'm going to do is, I just thought today, just quick introduction, saying back with the faction fighting stories, introduce there about that account in the Kerryman newspaper, and we'll get into more of these videos now, and we'll get more into about the Tipperary and how it started and some of the factions and the fights there in Tipperary. Okay, thank you for watching.